Good evening and join us for another live Siyum. Tonight's Siyum is being brought to you by Rabbi Holtzman, who is the Rav of East Flatbush and well known for his Torah insights. Tonight's Siyum is going to be on Mesechta Bechoros. So let's get straight to the Siyum. Rabbi Holtzman.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Hecht. B'chazdei Hashem, we're celebrating a Siyum on Mesechta Bechoros in an auspicious day, in the middle of the 9 days, Hay of the Yortzeit of Arizal Hachai, and Mesechta Bechoros is dealing with the topic of firstborns, primarily the laws concerning the firstborn animal. It also discusses the laws of firstborn human and the mitzvah of Pidin Haben, which was discussed yesterday in the Siyum of Mesechta Psochim. But we'll Mirza Hashem also find out how it interacts in the 9 days, and especially that we prepare ourselves for Tisha B'Av should be overturned to be L'Sosne L'Simcha. Now, Mesechta Bechoros, the main focus of the first 8 chapters is on firstborn animals. But the 9th and final chapter discusses a different kind of offering, Meiser Behema, the animal tais. Why is Meiser Behema included in Mesechta Bechoros? Because the two are quite similar. Both are considered Kodeshim Kalim, offerings with lighter sanctity that are eaten over 2 days and 1 night, similar to Korban Shlomim, peace offering. The Korban Pesach is also similar in certain ways, but due to its many specific halachas, it has its own tractate, Mesechta Psochim. It's unlike Meiser Behema. Likewise, in the Rambam, Maimonides in Hilchos Bechoros also has the final chapters also deal with the laws of Meiser Behema in Hilchos Bechoros. Out of the 8 chapters, the first 5 discusses the law with firstborn, and chapter 6 and onward, the Rambam discusses the mitzvah of separating Meiser Behema. What is Meiser Behema? How is it done? All the calves or lambs are gathered into a pen. A small opening is made so they can only exit one at a time. The mothers are placed outside the pen, calling to them, so they exit naturally, one by one. This fulfills the verse, Yavor tachet hashevet o asiri yiyeh kodesh. They come out and the owner counts 1, 2, 3, and the 10th animal is marked with a red dye and it's declared Meiser, Kodesh. In the 10th animal, if the 10th animal is unblemished, it becomes holy, sanctified, and it may not be worked or sheared, and it cannot be sold. It is brought as a korban, a sacrifice, and the entire offering is eaten by the owner in purity in Yerushalayim, Ira Kodesh, just like a korban shlomim. However, unlike shlomim, no part of it is given to the kohanim. The entire animal is eaten by the owner and his family, similar to the korban pesach. If the 10th animal had a blemish, born or gets a blemish, it's still considered meiser in the sense that it's sanctified and may not be worked or sheared, but it cannot be sold. But without sanctity to a mizbeach, it can be eaten anywhere, anytime. The final Mishnah of Mesechta Bechoros recounts about a case of miscount. If someone mistakenly called the 9th animal the 10th, the 10th he calls the 9th. He realized, he said, 10, 9. And then it comes to the 11th, he calls it 10. Says the Mishnah, Chi Vasiri, Asiri, Chi, Olachados Asiri, Shloshton Mekudoshin. They all become sanctified. How so? The 9th cannot be at the korban, it's still the 9th, but it has some sanctity. It must develop a blemish, and then it could be eaten like a meiser that had a blemish. The 10th is a true meiser, it's the 10th. The 11th, although he called it as a 10th, it has a holiness of a shlomim, meaning we learn it, derive it from a posuk. Now, at the end of Bechoros, Mesechta Bechoros, says the Gemara, a lesson based on this Mishnah. Itmar, we learned. What did we learn? Someone sends a messenger. He says, go separate Meiser or Behema for me. So in that we have an argument of two great scholars. Those two great scholars, they were students of one of the greatest, we all know of the scholars in the Amoraim and the 4th century, and they're like the 5th generation of Amoraim, almost at the end, Abaye and Rove. So Rove had a yeshiva, and Rove's students he has two students. The famous one that we know that when we finish the Tractate, when we make a Siyum at the end, we mention all the names of the 10 children of Rav Poppe. Rav Poppe was the student of Rove. He also had a counterpart that's called Rav Papi. Rav Papi or Rav Papai, it has a Yud. The difference is this is Papa and this is Rav Papa. And they both brought, many times they brought things of their master Rove, and they bring it differently. They understood what Rav Papi, the Rove said differently. So here comes the Gemara and he says, in a case like that, when the messenger made this mistake that we just explained in the Mishnah, that he called the 9th tense, the 10th is called the 9, and the 11th he called the 10th, says Rav Papi, so he made a mistake for you, but he's your messenger. And whatever you do, you appointed him that he's like you. So the 9th will be holy the same way as you would have done that. The 10th, obviously, is Meiser, even though he called it 9th, because it's the 10th. And the 11th, he says, no. Then Asiri is Kodesh. Chad Oser Asiri Einoi Kodesh, it's not holy. Why not? Because he says, the damage that you're going to do through calling it 11 is going to be a shlomim, and I'm going to give also parts to the kohenim. That's too much. But the 9th, nish gefährlich, as we say. You can eat it. With a blemish. You can eat it by yourself. Okay, so you can't sell it and you can't work with that, but you could do it. It's not a problem. However, Rav Poppe says that Rove, our master, no, he disagrees. Even the 9th is not holy. Why? Because he wasn't sent for that. Says the Gemara, so let me ask you a question. On Rav Poppe, Rav Papi, I have no problem. But Rav Poppe, I have a problem with you. Why? We learned in a Mishnah that says in Trumas, if I send someone to give Truma for me, Truma, you can give a grain on the entire, and everything you have is enough. However, our sages said that you should give a portion. 2% regular, which is 1 in 50, but if you want to give less or more, you give 1 of 40, 2% and a little bit, 1 in 60 if you're really very, very cheap, but that should be 1 in 40, 1 in 50, 1 in 60, but around 2%. What happens if the messenger, so the messenger should give Torah Bebeinus, Echad Mechamishim, he should give regular if he doesn't know how much the owner wants. What happens if he made a mistake? 10 here, 10 there, Yosef, is no problem. Not an issue, says the Mishnah. So now we have a question on Rav Poppe, because why not? The Mishnah says, there's not a problem, because you made a mistake, okay, but but he's your messenger. The Gemara answers the following. Omri, Rav Poppe says, don't mix apples and oranges. The mistake by the animal is a mistake. He didn't ask him, what do you mean? You give a shmais and you decided that 9 should be 10? That's a mistake. It's unacceptable. I didn't do it. I wouldn't do it. However, by the 1 in 40, 1 in 50, 1 in 60, they are all regular. Those are things that could happen. Therefore, there are people that do less in a bad eye, but they're doing Torah b'ayin yofa, they're doing the small. I evaluated you that you should do it like this. Tosi, I made a mistake. So that's not a big mistake, that it's not terrible. So before we finish, interesting enough that this whole mitzvah of Meiser Behema, as we mentioned, it's in the Rambam, so there is a chinuch. The chinuch is we don't know who wrote the Chinuch, but from the Rishonim. And he counted all the mitzvahs of the 613 mitzvahs, and beautifully put in a Sefer HaChinuch. He has there the mitzvahs, the commandments, and some of the details, and also the reasoning. And he writes, on the mitzvah of Meiser Behema, by him it's number 360. I find it very appropriate. 360 is Shas. And what we're doing now, we make a Siyum on a Mesechta, Shas, in Talmud. So that's the mitzvah. But he says more than that. What's the reason that Hashem made that you should give a tithe, why should give a tenth for Hashem? Kadosh Baruch Hu knew that unfortunately you won't be able to manage enough in our Holy Land and Yerushalayim. So you're going to settle in Golus, in exile, in diaspora, and you're going to be busy there, and you're going to do work, and you're going to do materialism, and you're going to be so busy to make parnosa and to feed your family, and Hashem will give you, and He'll give you a lot. So Hashem gave you a mitzvah, a commandment, that you should go and give a tenth. This ma'aser that you're going to give, go bring it to Yerushalayim. You can eat it, no problem, but you have to eat it in Yerushalayim. When you're going to be over there, says the Chinuch, you're going to be, now Hashem is going to give you a lot, so you're going to spend more time, so you're going to be, have to eat over there, you're going to bring your family, and everyone is going to be in our holy city. What are they going to do? They're going to learn Torah. So there's going to be a time of learning Yerushalayim and being Torah. So this is so appropriate. Now we're in the 9 days before Tisha B'Av. That's what we're waiting. And I want to say more than that. When you go over here, you see Rav Papi and Rav Popper. Rav Papi was born, we know he didn't have really the means. Rav Popper was a very wealthy scholar, and he had factory of beer made of dates, and he supported and sponsored. So he said, when someone makes a mistake, it doesn't matter. You make such a mistake, that's too much. Rav Papi said, but the halacha is like Rav Popper. More than that you learn from here, that you are the one to make something holy. Hashem tells you that you called the 9 tenths. You made a mistake. Even your messenger made a mistake. You called it. Your words are so important. Now we stand before Tisha B'Av. The whole idea of Tisha B'Av, destruction of the temple, was because of no unity, no togetherness, no peace. Here we have the other way around, to remember that every word is holy. We have the power to speak and make something holy, and it becomes later a sacrifice. And with our doing, we are going to speak good things and beast things. And with that, we finish the Gemara that says, don't make such a mistake. And we are not making a mistake like that. And we're only going to be doing positive and good things and sholem and holy, and to be kodesh. And with that, hadran aloch maser behemo uslikolo Mesechta Bechoros, and we're going to mention all the 10 names of Rav Popper, and we're going to have this gula of everything with it, with Bnias Beis Hamikdosh Bimheiro Mamish.